Welcome to the Monday Spiral Up moment. And today I want to really touch on a nuance, if you will, between spiraling up and spiraling down, because there's a lot of that actually. And for those of you that have watched a lot of these videos, I get kind of hung up on words sometimes. I'm very curious about words. And the word I'm going to talk about today and the nuance I'm going to talk about has to do with grace. And it's just a word that's been real prevalent over the last week for me. And I started to think more in depth about it. And actually, in the shower today, it really kind of processed in my head a little bit. Um, and so I want to tell you about a nuance on grace. So grace is one of those things where when someone's in the fog, and if it's ourselves or others, that part of considering, right, the first spiraling up step of considering is to give others grace and to give ourselves grace, sometimes for what we're feeling in the situation that we're in, right? That empathy of understanding, that compassion for ourselves and for others. And at the same time, at some point in time, if we don't move from giving ourselves grace and considering that to taking some responsibility, we risk that sliding down the spiral down. So I'm going to give you a very real example, personal example, because those are the stories I tell. I can't stand making stuff up and hypotheticals. So this story is about self-grace, giving myself grace and taking it too far. And so a little over a year ago, when my father passed, I really learned what it means to be in a fog. It gave me a lot of really deep understanding of what that experience is like. And I had to give myself some grace because I wasn't super functional. And my brain wasn't operating on all cylinders and I couldn't think clearly and work well. So I gave, myself grace and I had others encouraging me to do that. And I was very appreciative of that. At some point in time in the process, I let that considering and giving myself grace slip into ignoring my responsibilities, especially as a business owner. And it became my excuse for why I wasn't getting work done and why I was avoiding work and why I wouldn't go into my office, right? And wanted to do Sudoku all the time, right? It was my excuse. And even though I was getting very frustrated with myself and angry with myself, and I was blaming and complaining about my own actions, I still had this external villain of grief that I could put that on. And at some point in time, and I'm not minimizing my grief or anybody else's grief by any stretch, that grace that I did give myself helped me a lot through the anger and the sadness and all of that. But at some point in time, when you let that be an excuse and it goes just a little too far, it becomes destructive, right? And I had to catch myself. And I caught myself because of a big giant mistake. And I was like, wow, okay, hang on a second. I am still a business owner. I have responsibilities that only I can do. And I need to step up. I realize that I am struggling, but I still need to function. I still need to move forward and not let grace be my excuse for not and continuing to spiral down. Now, I don't think I got to the point of generating commiserators. And if I did, somebody call me on that. But it was when I finally started to take responsibility and pursue some solutions. And through collaboration, I had a lot of support through this process. That was when grace became of value to me, right? It was driving me and pushing me. And I could use grace in the way that I needed to use grace, which was to care for me emotionally. But I still needed to function as a business owner and as an adult. So I don't know that I've wrapped this up in a bow at all. I just want you to understand the nuances of some of this. And I'm not even going to leave you with a challenge. I'm just going to leave you with the nuance of grace, and how important it is when we're in this stage that we move this direction, keep making steps forward. Please take care of yourself. Have a great week. Peace.